Hello all, and welcome to the first episode of Real Trees, Real Talk, why Nova Scotia loves real Christmas trees. My name is Jillian Blackburn from the Christmas Tree Council of Nova Scotia, and I'll be your host for this series, where we will be interviewing several Christmas tree producers throughout Nova Scotia. We will be discussing the ins and the outs of the Christmas tree industry. We'll be giving some tips on how to select the perfect tree for this season in your home and for sales. And some of our growers will be telling us some entertaining stories from their experiences in the industry. Be sure to tune in for the whole podcast series to digest knowledge from our communities this holiday season. Joining us today is Jack Wentzell, who owns and operates his family farm, Pear Lake Farms in Lunenburg County. Jack has been in the industry since the mid-70s and mainly exports balsam fir trees and wreaths while saving a few for his neighbors. Welcome, Jack, to the first episode. We are super excited to have you on the first podcast of the series.
Oh, I thank you, and it's my pleasure to be a part of this. And this is an interesting story, the story of the Christmas tree industry in our province, and I'm only too happy to share a little bit of information about it.
So we'll get right into it. We'll start with our first question for you here today. For the consumers and your friends in the industry, as a Christmas tree farmer, can you describe your job for me? And what are your main duties and tasks? And are they consistently changing, or are they very similar day to day?
It's twofold, really. My job, of course, it has two parts. It has the production end of it, then there's the management end of it. On the production side of it, there are different duties on that throughout the year. There's work to be done in the spring of the year with fertilizing and things of that nature. Later on in the summer and fall, then you are busy shearing for right up until harvest time. And then, of course, there's harvest time. That's the different areas of work in the production side of it. Something that we are becoming more involved of now is the marketplace. Years ago, we just worried about producing the trees. There were a number of big companies in the business, like Kirk's and some of those. Well, they sort of did the marketing, but as they went away from here, Christmas tree farmers, they soon found that they had to start casting an eye on the marketplace and finding ways to market and see what was going on there. So we've been putting a lot of effort on that end of it in later years.
Mm-hmm. And do you find there's much of a change in the marketplace with the artificial trees coming into play?
Yeah, it is. That's an area of competition. That's a big area of competition for us. And unfortunately, we were behind the ball a little bit in telling our story. Environmentally, that's another thing that's come into play. People are worried about the environment now, and a lot of people don't understand is that our industry is environmentally friendly compared to the plastic trees that come in here from China.
So we're coming into your busy time of year. Some people are starting to export already. I heard September was some of their start dates. And the holidays are sneaking up on us. It's just past Halloween. What are you doing right now to get ready? Busy time of year, and I think you said you were quite busy this week, so you want to give us a bit of intel on that?
Well, we're right on the doorstep of harvesting. Some people are harvesting now as we speak for the offshore markets in particular. Right now, the first thing that we are trying to do and hopefully have done is our orders. We are trying to put together the orders that we have because we want to make sure that the balance is there between what trees we have on inventory to ship, the orders that we have. So I'm sure there are still some people doing some final touches on that, but that's one thing we're doing right now. Now, the other thing is there's some equipment involved in this harvest business. The maintenance, people are busy or have been busy in their workshops, getting the tractors, the chainsaws, the balers, and the elevators and all that stuff with their yearly maintenance on them, getting them ready for action because you can't cut trees down if you don't have something to do it with.
No, and that's a whole other job, isn't it?
That's another job, yeah.
It takes a whole year of planning. It's like Santa Claus. It takes a whole year of planning to do a couple months of work at the end.
Yes, and it seems to be a lot of things are different. You know, if you're maintaining some equipment and have to order some new parts, they seem to be slow in this day and age. I hear a lot of people complaining that they have to order some parts. It takes 2 weeks or 3 weeks or whatever to get here. And so it's almost too late to have that happen. So I'm sure maintenance has started.
Yeah, because some of the waiting time is almost double now.
It is.
That's crazy.
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is. I hear a lot of complaint about that.
Going off of that, so we hear that there's a higher demand of trees this year because everybody's doing the research now. COVID has brought out the researchers and the public. And any thoughts on why that is? And have you talked to any of the consumers about why they want Christmas trees now more than ever? Real Christmas trees at that.
Well, I think probably I don't talk to a lot of the consumers because I'm exporting to retailers mostly in the U.S. I sell quite a number of trees to another local exporter who ships them on Ontario and West. But in talking to the customer in the U.S., I think it's the inventory of trees for one thing. He tells me that he used to buy Fraser fir along with mine. But now the Fraser fir supply has gotten very short, and so he's looking. Well, he bought more trees this year than he has for a while, and he'd like to have more next year if I had them. So I think that there's it's twofold. It's supply. Supply is not. I won't say there's a shortage, but there's not an oversupply. In my mind, it does not seem to be. Now, the other thing is, too, I think our promotion efforts have really are starting to make a difference. We are now part of the checkoff in the United States. If you ship trees into the United States, why you have to send a certain percentage checkoff. I think it's 15 cents US per tree. And that goes for pretty well for promotion in the U.S. And it seems as though that has paid off because the statistics that have come out have shown more people using real trees than maybe in the last little while. So I think that a big reason that there's a higher demand is our promotional efforts. And as I mentioned earlier, people are interested in the environment. And our message is starting to lean heavily on the environmentally friendly part of our Christmas trees.
Now more than ever, right?
More than ever, and I think that's getting across to help too. Our trees got a lot of different uses when we're through with them when Christmas is over. I imagine if our feathered friends could talk, they'd say thank you for putting tree out for them to play in and live in for a little.
Yep. Yeah. And I know some people with goats who love them.
The goats, yes, there's food there for the goats.
Yeah.
And then sometimes they use them to make a bank along water's edge to keep erosion away. There's a lot of uses. So people didn't understand that. Just said, well, you're chopping down a tree. Well, yes, but we're planting and there's new ones taking their place. These are the stories that I think are starting to turn people's away from the plastic a bit and more for ours.
People are starting to think that they have a lot more uses. They have many uses at that, and it's for aesthetics, and it's for tradition, and it's for later use.
And they can be mulched.
Yeah, exactly.
A lot of people didn't understand that.
We're going to take a quick advertisement break to promote the Balsam Fir Forum. The Balsam Fir Forum is a membership-based website that includes educational content from over 15 professionals across Canada and the United States. It was developed to help Christmas tree growers learn important skills that will make their businesses grow and be more successful. With your subscription, you can access all the educational content and resources at your convenience when it suits you best for 1 full year. North American growers from Nova Scotia to Alberta and Alabama to Arizona are taking part. You can join the forum by registering at balsamfirforum.com and finding the links on the Christmas Tree Council social media pages and website. We hope to see you there! What are some tips for a first-time Christmas tree buyer, since people are more interested now, or any buyer at all, to help make their Christmas tree experience the best possible, whether it's a fresh cut off the lot from a U-pick or from a stand in another country?
If you're visiting in a U-cut locally, well, that's rather easy to know you've got a fresh one because you can cut it yourself. But it's not that easy when you export trees to all over Canada and the US and whatever. One of the things that will tell you a lot about that tree is the needles. If you have, if the needles look... an experienced tree grower will, just look at it and he probably can almost tell if it's fresh by just looking. But the consumer that haven't bought any, they might or might not be able to tell that well, but he still can, or she can still tell a lot by the needles. If you take finger and thumb and you go down the branch of a tree and with some pressure, and when you got to the end of the branch, if all you have is a handful of needles and none left on the branch, well, then you know that probably is not a freshest tree.
No, it's not a great one.
No. And if
it doesn't have good genes.
That's right. And if you take a needle between your finger and thumb and kind of squeeze it and see how long it takes to break, if it seems real brittle and breaks right away, well, probably is not the freshest tree that's around. There's ways like that you can tell if they are fresh. And most of the retailers, they want to have your business next year. They're going to try to treat that consumer with respect, because if they're not fruitful with them and they tell them that they cut those trees at a certain date and they've cut them 3 weeks earlier or something, why next year that they're not going to may not be back. Vendors don't want that. So if you ask the vendor about the time of harvest, the most of them are going to be frank with you, and they're going to tell you, and because they want that business. Mm-hmm. They want it to return. That's helpful there. Now, whether you're a first-time consumer or whether you've been at it for some years, there are a few things you can do that will help you once you've bought that tree and brought it home. Many people, they look at a tree and they don't think it's as tall as it is. And they're adamant sometimes, no, that'll win my house. I want that tree. It would be a lot better if they knew the height of their ceilings. And there's been many people got them home and had to cut them off, and that's a big problem.
Or width too.
Yeah.
Not just height.
Yes. Yeah, they want to make sure that tree may not look as big as it is when you get it home and bring it through the door and put it in the house. So a little bit of caution in buying can save you some difficulty.
And you have to account for the stand and for the topper, whatever you have on the top.
Yeah. And of course the old adage of a fresh cut on the butt, and your stand has lots. You keep that watered, and you do that. Where you place that tree in the home, not by the stove or not by a window where the sun glares in and all this, that can help an awful lot.
Mm-hmm. You don't want to put it by a heat source or anything like that. No.
And now a lot of people have these bags that when you're through with it, you can slide it up over the tree and take it out, and there's not a string of needles going from there to the door. So there are things you can do.
What's the most important thing that you've learned from being a Christmas tree producer? Whether it's how to shear a tree or from the marketplace?
I always tell some of my buddies, well, I've been in the tree business since mid-70s, I guess. I still don't know nothing about it. Because it's the same as any business. Times change and methods change. You learn sometimes that you thought you was doing things right and you weren't doing them right. Or you aren't doing them to the best.
Or the way somebody else does it.
Well, we had a fellow in one day to one of the meetings we had from the Agriculture College, Glenn Sampson. I don't know what he taught there, but anyway, he had a presentation. And he was talking, and he talked to us about weed control. Goldenrod was, one. And we thought that we, all through the years, that we were doing, if we did it, we try not to do any more spraying than we have to, because we're part of integrated pest management. Mm-hmm. But sometimes you have to use a little. And we thought we were doing it at the best time. And we found out by him, after all these years, we weren't doing it at the right time. And he explained to us why we weren't doing it at the right time, and it made sense. Yeah. What he did made sense. So you can always learn something.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, yeah.
Yeah, you can always learn something. I guess the thing we have to get in our heads. The consumer is always right. It's not the tree that I like or the consumer.
Yeah.
And those have changed. When we first started in the tree business, we were producing a fairly big tree, sheared tight, and that's what the market wanted. Well, and after a while, that would have been a number one heavy sheared tree, hard to hang, had to hang the ornaments on it.
Yeah.
After a while, they wanted them lightened up a little bit. Basically, a number two, not sheared quite so heavy, still quite big. And so you did that. And now over half of our market is going eventually to box stores, and they don't want a big tree. They want a little, just a smaller tree. They want a decent tree, nice tree.
Or the table toppers too.
Oh, there's table toppers now. but over half of my trees that I sell are the smaller tree. I love it because they're easier to handle, they're easier to load. So it changes. Now, and even different areas of your own market. I have markets with a different demand, sure, we're selling half of our trees to eventually go to box stores with that smaller tree, but I still have a couple of customers in the U.S. where they still want a little bigger tree, so you've got different markets. But the main thing is, I think, that we learned is that the customer is boss. We have to try to produce a tree that suits them. The smart tree, I think that can be a real boon to our industry as it gets its way along.
Are there any funny or exciting stories that you've told over the past years that you've told over and over and over again?
Well, I don't know if I've told them over and over again, but there are a few amusing events that do happen over the years. I can remember quite a number of years ago, we loaded a truck with trees, and it left here. That was an open trailer. It left here, and it started out number 10 towards Middleton to catch the boat. Well, a little bit later, we heard how we had a truck upset in the ditch. So we went up to take a look and see what we needed to do. Well, we soon seen what we needed to do. We had to come and get some stakes and rope and some extra men, and we had to go up and...
This was a tractor trailer?
Yep. Oh, tractor trailer. And we had to get those there trees out of the ditch. The trailer wasn't hurt except the stakes, so as soon as we got stakes, that was fine. Mm-hmm. Fellow had the local tractor that hooked onto it. We got a bunch of men and we started. Well, along after a while, everybody got hungry. So up the road a little ways was a little... Well, it wasn't a real big restaurant by any means. It was a little place where you could get a little lunch, and I think there was one man there on duty, and he was making the hamburgers and whatever by himself. So I gave one of the boys some money, and I said, "You go up the road, you get a bunch of hamburgers and coffee." Oh, okay. Well, how many should I get? Well, I said, with the amount of fellas we got here, one hamburger ain't going to do. We got to have 2 apiece. So you get about 27 hamburgers.
Oh my gosh.
You get 27 hamburgers and about a dozen or so coffees. So up he went. Well, he went into the place. It was about time for him to close up anyway, and he was there alone. And he said, "Can I help you?" Yes, he said, "I'd like some hamburger and coffees." Oh, okay. Well, how many would you like? Well, he said, "I want a dozen coffees and 27 hamburgers." You want what?
Oh my God.
27 hamburgers and a dozen coffees. Well, by glory, after a while he came back and he had 27 hamburgers and a dozen or so of coffees, and the men all stopped and had a couple of hamburgers and had some coffee, and I think 10 o'clock that night we had the load back on his feet. So,
oh my gosh.
That was comical. That it wasn't fun down the ditch getting those trees and loaded, but it was a little funny. We had a few laughs over the coffee and hamburgers,
Oh my goodness, I imagine.
Yeah.
And all the trees were salvageable?
Yes, there was only, I think, one or two that wasn't hurt.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Well, the hamburgers and the coffee worked their magic for that one.
Well, his eyes were pretty big when they said that.
Well, he got good business that night.
Yeah. Oh yeah, them are the things that happen from time to time.
Any other stories that you'd like to share? Or?
Well, I can think, and I don't know if I just said the name, but we had a meeting of the council in Truro, there where the Federation buildings were there, so, Mm-hmm. And anyway, it took to rain in the afternoon when we go home, so I had to go over to the Federation office for something. When I got done there, I come back and Matt Wright was there, and I said, "Where's so-and-so?" Well, we're to pick him up. He went for a little walk. It wasn't raining when he went for his walk.
Oh, no.
So, all right. So by that time it was pouring, you see. Well, we got in his car and we struck off the road the way we come in. Didn't see him. Well, we went round the loop then and said he must have came the other way from the college. So we went round the other road and then come in from the other way. No. Didn't see him.
No cell phone.
Look.
Thing.
Oh, no.
We said he must be in the Federation offices looking for us. Sent Matt in there to look. No, he's not there. Well, we'll start again. So we get out in the main road, the one road, and I look down the road. I said, "Here he comes." And he looked like a drowned rat. He was soaked from one end to the other. It was raining so hard, and he wasn't happy.
Oh, no.
No, he wasn't happy. "Well, where was you fellers?" "Well, where were you?" "Well, I was there under a tree. I saw you go by."
Oh, no.
Well, I said, "We never saw you in there." He showed us the tree, but... Well, he had to get in that car, sopping wet, and come all the way home. Next day, I was going out by DeLong's, and I seen Jimmy. I said, "You want to hear a good story? A laugh?" I said, "Well, yeah," because he had come earlier. And I told him, well, he shook his head, because, I don't want to say the man's name, because he might not like it, but we had an awful laugh over that. Yeah, we've had a lot of fun over the years.
I imagine. Well, you have to pass time somewhere in the woods and on the road and everything.
We went into something in Halifax. I don't know what it was. Jim DeLong and John Vino and I come dinner, and we said, well, I don't know if we went down to the Five Fishermen or Mother Tucker's, but one of them, and it was a buffet. Mm. Well, we were all younger then, and we could eat like a horse. So we started eating. But I can tell you, they didn't shut us off, but they didn't make no money, because we went back 3 times with big heaping plates full to the buffet.
All the best stuff, too. All the meat and all the veggies and fruit and desserts.
Oh, we helped ourselves, I'll tell you that. Oh, yeah, we have.
Before we wrap up our interview today, would you like to send a message to your consumers and the other folks in the industry before the holiday season starts?
Well, first of all, I'd like to wish all the other fellows that are producing trees, I wish them a very successful year. I mean, you've had a lot of lean years, and this last few years have been a little better, and I just hope that to them that this year is no different, that everything goes reasonably well and they don't run into too many difficulties, and it goes on to a successful season. To the consumers, I would say that pay attention to the message that goes out from our people, and then you will discover that the product you're going to buy from us is environmental friendly, and much, much more environmental friendly than those plastic trees that come from overseas. Between planting and natural regen and seed trees and all that, it's sustainable. What we're doing is sustainable. We've been to Micmac Mall and some of those places with a booth, and we've tried to talk to people that stop by. Now, I remember there was one lady said, well, I don't care if it is or not, but I hate to see that tree cut down. Well, that one tree cut down, there's maybe two more come along in its place, and we have to look past that one tree being cut. And I know others have the same. We've got land that we've been growing trees on since the mid-70s, and I think we have got more trees in the ground now than we had in the first few years that we started. So it works. All I can say is Merry Christmas to everybody and stay away from this virus that's going on. And happy holidays.
Thank you so much for joining us and sharing that and helping us promote the Christmas tree industry. That's huge right now, especially like you said, that's the one big thing is promotion.
Yeah.
So we really enjoyed hearing your stories and your insights today. I know the community and the customers will too. And I wish you good luck from CTCNS, and I hope you have a great season.
Thank you very much.
The next episode of Real Trees, Real Talk, Why Nova Scotia Loves Real Christmas Trees, will be released on November 20th, where we will explore other knowledgeable producers' stories and experiences. Do you want to know more about the Christmas tree industry and where you can pick up your Nova Scotia famous Christmas tree? Visit the CTCNS website at iloverealtrees.com, ctcns.com, and their social media outlets. I'm Jillian Blackburn from the Christmas Tree Council of Nova Scotia. Thank you all for listening in on our first episode of the series, Real Trees, Real Talk. Catch you all in a couple weeks.